Hello everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. I'd like to offer you a contemplation. And today's contemplation is, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now let us meditate and reflect upon these words. These words were spoken by Jesus. But when did he say these words? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Well, he spoke them at a very specific moment. And to be honest, a very, very excruciatingly painful moment. These words were spoken by Christ while he was literally being crucified. They were vocalized as he felt nails being hammered into his body. Some would say the epitome of torture. And it was really at that very moment that the nails were piercing, according to the tradition, his hands and his feet, that these words came forth from the lips of Christ. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now let us try to imagine, let us try to contemplate that excruciating pain, the excruciating torture that he was feeling in that moment when these words were expressed. Now at that very moment, amid all the pain, all the suffering that he was going through and that he was feeling, what does Jesus do? He asked forgiveness. Forgiveness for those who were harming him, and forgiveness for those who were causing him this excruciating pain and torture. Now think about that for a moment. What type of mentality is that? What type of mindset? Now think about times in your life. I invite you to contemplate when someone has caused you pain. I invite you to think about a time in which someone did you harm. And it probably wasn't even as severe as being scourged and crucified. But in those moments, what words came out of your mouth? In those moments, what thoughts began to run through your head? What thoughts did you think in those moments? At times of much less suffering, we probably would scream out. We would probably vent all our anger and animosity towards the person that is inflicting this harm, that is causing us this pain. We would literally probably lash out at them, retaliate back. Because to be honest, that's really sort of the default state of mind. If you're unkind to me, I'm going to be unkind to you. If you hurt me, well then you know what? I'll hurt you. And so back and forth it goes. It's this instinctual, really eye for an eye mentality that is still, some might say, very much lodged into our human consciousness. But as Gandhi said, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And Jesus came to show us really another way to live. Some might say a higher way to live, or for lack of a better word, a more spiritual way to live. What Christ showed us was really the way of love, and what a truly loving and unconditionally loving being would do. I mean, he told us to, even love your enemies. And so Jesus has also showed us the mentality of what some might call a true enlightened being is. Jesus really shows us what the mindset of a child of God is and would be. And he shows us and teaches us this by the example of his, what you might call a revolutionary forgiveness. Now you might say, why revolutionary? Why am I using this term revolutionary? Well, it was revolutionary because, as I mentioned, the previous level of consciousness, the previous teaching by maybe the great prophet before him of Moses, was literally the teaching of an eye for an eye. But it's also revolutionary because this was forgiveness at the most extreme experience of hurt, pain, harm, and suffering. This was an example that if our heart is ready, and that's the key, if our heart is ready, everything is forgivable. If our heart is ready, anything, no matter how bad, can be forgiven if we want it to be. And forgiveness is really for us. And I could talk a lot about that as well. But we clearly see Christ's high level of consciousness because it's not just that he's saying, forgive them. He's saying, forgive them because they know not what they do. And so Jesus saw the true reality of things. He understood and he knew the human heart. He knew the heart of humanity, and he understood that really the majority of the world can't see things clearly. They don't see with true eyes. They don't see with the spiritual eye. He understood that people are really moving through this world unconscious and really unaware of the true reality because they are deeply steeped in what many traditions call ignorance. And so they are unaware of the spiritual world that is all around them and the spiritual world that even is within them. He said the kingdom of God is within you. And so they don't recognize the world that they are part of and a world that they are from. And therefore they're unaware of the ultimate consequence of their actions. Our words, thoughts, and deeds all bear consequence in this life. And so Jesus wished not to fault them for their ignorance, but rather to help them see by his example, by his way of living. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. They're blind to the truth. And so forgiveness, mercy, and love, these were the main elements of the teachings of Christ. These are the main elements of what really a Christian life should be. And these elements of revolutionary forgiveness and radical love and even mercy, he displayed right up to the very final moments of his life. And that's why really to his followers, when he says, come follow me, he wasn't just talking about literally being a disciple and just walking behind him and following him wherever he goes. And he wasn't also talking about literally just believing in him. But rather the call to come follow me was an invitation to live the life that he was living. It was an invitation to live a Christed life. It said, let the mind of Christ be the mind in you. And that was the invitation to come follow him. And it was an invitation to display the very same qualities of revolutionary forgiveness, of extreme mercy and radical love, and apply these elements into our own lives and our own way of living. Come follow me was a call to a lifestyle of living as a child of God. And this is why really his final instructions were simply to love. He said, I tell you to love. And if you love, then others will know that you are my disciples. That's it. Just love and others will know that you are my disciples. So let's see how well we can heed this call this year. Or not only this year, but let's see how well we can lead this call every single day of our lives. God bless you on your journey. I hope and I pray and I wish that all your days may be filled with an abundance of love, happiness, and peace. And I thank you for your time and have a very blessed and beautiful day.